Hello, I am Tara, the author of the Dining on a Dime Cookbook, along with my mom Jill, who is also the author of the Dining on a Dime Cookbook, where you can eat better, spend less. We have real food for real families. None of this crazy stuff comes out of Dining on a Dime. It's good stuff like maple glazed chicken and roast and mashed potatoes, the good stuff. Today, though, we are talking about hobbies, and actually this was my hobby at one point. It was.
But you know what? We've got all the kids stuff in there about making Play-Doh
Yeah.
and making all the fun stuff. So if that's your hobby and getting your kids started in hobbies, we've got that whole section in the book that we teach how to do crystal gardens, everything in there.
So this is a hobby that we actually turned into a business that supports our family now. But we're going to talk about hobbies in general, quilting, soap making, gardening, all those kinds of things, how to save money on hobbies. We're kind of doing a general overview, but here's one thing. I just have a little thing to say. This is a little bee in my bonnet. These stay-at-home moms who say I have nothing to do when the kids go to school.
I can't even imagine that.
First of all, I can't even fathom that because there's always been something I've been interested in. Mm-hmm. I've either done flower arranging, or I've done book writing, soap making, gardening, embroidery, crocheting, painting, all of those kinds. There's always something that I've been interested in for a hobby. And I just want to say up front, guys, if you're a stay-at-home mom and you have nothing to do, you need to get a life and get a hobby. And do some things, because a mom's job is 24 hours a day. And so if you're taking off a few hours while the kid's in preschool or whatever, but you're getting up in the middle of the night, you need something to take your mind off of things and relax and not think. For me, hobbies, reading is another hobby that Mom and I do, but get your mind off of everything that's going on in life, and hobbies help you do that.
I wonder if we don't have a lot of people that are extra stressed now because they don't know about hobbies or don't do them.
Well,
and they don't understand how much that helps you emotionally. I had heard a story. I don't want to start off on a really negative thing, but this kind of shows what I'm talking about, how much women don't realize how much these hobbies help you. That's why I mentioned the kids' book, because if you get your kids started in hobbies when they're young, they feel good about themselves, and they want to keep trying and learning more as they get older and experimenting. One thing doesn't fit, get something else. I've tried, I don't know how many different hobbies I've tried in my life, tons of them. And if it doesn't work, and it doesn't have to be expensive. And I have this story, I think it was Corrie Ten Boom. I'm not sure. I hate to even say that because I'm not positive, but
and who was she, for people who don't know? It's been long enough now that a lot of people don't know who she was.
I was going to tell.
Okay.
But I was just telling to you that I wasn't sure. But this shows how important the emotional, spiritual, whatever and all that combined, even physical, helping you to relax physically, how important hobbies can be. Corrie Ten Boom, I think she was during the Holocaust, she was in a concentration camp. Her family was put in there because they were Christians who were helping the Jews try to escape the Nazis. And I think she told a story once, and please forgive me if I don't have it exactly right, but the general idea is here. She said the ladies miss so much not having their hand sewing, their little stuff that they did, and she said it was really hard. That was one thing they missed, that you just didn't have anything like that for years, that they were in these concentration camps. And she said how excited all the women were. One of the ladies somehow found or got a hold of a sewing needle. And she said, we had no thread. We had one sewing needle. This is how clever they were and how desperate they were to pursue this hobby, how important it was. They would take, like on their slip or on part of their dress, and they carefully take that needle and pick a thread and pull that one thread out of their dress. And then, like underneath the hem or someplace, they would take that little thread on that needle, that one thread, and they would design a little flower, embroidery a little flower, or sew a little something like that. And that meant so much to them, to be able to take turns of doing that one little flower for sewing. And here we live in this world where we just gripe because we don't have anything to do, or we gripe about this. Grumbling and complaining is, like, to me, one of the biggest sins we're suffering now.
Yeah.
We're not satisfied with our lot. Okay, do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to, you become a bigger, and we always want to be a bigger, more well-rounded person, and you can do that through hobbies. Not only that, but every single one of my hobbies that I did turned into save me money in late years. I mean, it was a matter of sometimes really desperate times. That hobby helped me. I took cake decorating for a hobby. Later on, it saved me to be able to buy Christmas presents by decorating my gingerbread man, or making birthday cakes, and decorating them. My mom did wedding cakes and sold them. You can make quilts and sell them. Tara did gardening, where we sold her chives. She would take and sell her chives and her plants and stuff. There's very few hobbies that you couldn't if you had to in an emergency. Now, I don't recommend turning your hobby into your business, because it turns into work then. I really don't.
So I'm one of those people that every hobby I do, I turn it into a business. Because I just can't not turn it into a business. It's ridiculous. But I'm working on that.
Sure. You're working on it. And there is a time when, and I was going to get into this when we talk about money, people say, I don't have money to do a hobby. But like Tara wanted to do the soaping, and she didn't quite feel right in doing that, because she didn't feel like they had the extra money at the time when she started this. So she sold some of her soap
to pay for my supplies.
It paid for her supplies and her to be able to do that. Yeah. So, but we're going to touch a little bit on some things, how to save money for your hobbies, and things like that for today. But it is important that you try some different things. County Extensions is a good place to check out. They have inexpensive classes a lot of times, but now you can go online. Do you know how many women I watch on YouTube that said, I taught myself how to knit, I taught myself how to crochet, or how to do this by just watching YouTube? You are so blessed, we are nowadays, to have YouTube.
Well, I mean, I made soap in my former life before I was married, but we didn't have the fancy piping. We didn't have stick blenders.
Yeah.
We had to hand stir soap. And so I had to kind of relearn. I knew the basics, but I had to relearn. I didn't know how to pipe soap. I didn't know you could just pipe soap like you do a cake.
Yeah.
Well, here, my cake decorating class that I took as a hobby when my kids were like 3 and 4, and I was about ready to drive myself crazy being home with them all day long. I was like, you guys are driving me nuts. And
my grandkids.
Yes, your grandchildren. And now they're 21 and 20. I'm like, you're driving me nuts.
Crazy.
But
I know mine's about 47, and they're still driving me crazy. Go ahead.
Funny. And so I went to do cake decorating classes just to get out of the house, because it's always something I wanted to learn. Well, then I took that and used it to be able to make my soap.
Exactly. And even this kind of works into the how to save money. People ask, quilting has changed. The same soap making has. It used to be when I started, up until about maybe 15 or 20 years ago, the way I did quilts for years was I would lay a little square cardboard I cut from a cereal box of a square, and I would lay it on the fabric, draw it around, take my scissors, cut it out, hand sew a lot of them. The pieces didn't even have to use a sewing machine.
Yeah.
Now you've got the fancy mats and the rulers and the rotary cutters.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you this because you could start, if you think you don't have the money for that, start small. You can use your scissors with just using the templates. And do the simple ways that if you want to do soap, start with the simplest plain, soap type stuff. If you're going to start doing wreaths and stuff like that, you don't have to go out and buy bushel baskets full of flowers. You can get a small handful of flowers from the Dollar Tree or some, or from a garage sale, even better. I got a lot of.
So we're going to go for our next video, and we're going to give some specific ideas on how Mom and I actually save on our hobbies. Now, like I said, one of the ways we save on our hobbies is turning it into a business, which isn't actually a bad idea. If you just love doing something, sell it to somebody. I mean, that's a great idea. But let's say you don't want to turn it into a business. Our next video, we're going to talk about how to specifically save on hobbies.
Can I say one more thing about how important hobbies are?
No. Just kidding.
I know. Like Carson, I do hand sewing and I read, both, which are both hobbies. I can go to a hospital and I can sit for hours with my hand sewing by, or something, or with a child that's sick or something. I know other women who just pace the floor. I can't stand they have nothing to do, and they're just driving themselves crazy. So this is really an important thing.
Well, and like when my brother-in-law was dying from cancer, he was in the hospital towards the end. And so I would go up there and sit with my niece and my brother-in-law. And I took a book, and when he was sleeping, I would just sit there and read. But he knew I was still there to help out if I needed. But I was able to just sit and relax and read my book and not really worry about it. But I was there for him when he needed me. And people don't realize, like you said, how it can help you cope in these traumatic and crisis situations. How many times has Grandma sat waiting on the side of the road for us when they've come and rescued us, and she's sitting there crocheting while Grandpa
she takes her crochet with them all the time because they're going to rescue somebody, and she just keeps crocheting while they're driving there or waiting.
So she'll take her crochet and take it on the road to come get us. And
instead of thinking how horrible things are around, it just calms you down.
And one thing, before we get to the next video, but one thing, always have a bag ready to go. Mom has a bag ready to go with a couple of snacks and a book or two or some sewing or something like that. Always by the front door, because who knows how many times it's like we're headed we're headed to the emergency room. You're going to have to come help with whatever. And so, hobbies really help out in crises and those kinds of things. So our next video is going to be on how to actually save on hobbies. Please like, subscribe, and share. Give us a great big thumbs up if you love our videos. And we will see you guys next time.